All right, so now we're going to go over some operation tips on the equipment itself. We've already rolled the truck forward. We already have our readings on our 3 axles. On this right side here, this is an order of operations bar coming down through here. So anything with a check mark is something that we've already done. So it helps you kind of keep track of where it is you've been, and allows you to be able to move around back and forth if you may need. So the next thing the aligner is doing, we've done everything that the screen shows. We just have readings right now. It's prompting us to measure caster. So we'll go and hit K4 for measure caster. We don't have it on turn plates because we're just doing a quick check. So we're going to actually bypass the measurement right now. So K3. So the aligner shows us our measurements. We're going to save our measurements. We always want to make sure we save them. That way on the printout we show our before and afterwards. This just asks if the steering wheel was off left or right before we did the alignment. You can hit cancel, you can hit ready, you can type in a note if you want. It's completely your call. I didn't look to see if it was level, so I'm just going to leave it at none. So now we're actually looking at our rearmost axle. We know that by a couple different ways. This picture clearly shows a drive axle. We can see it's not a steer axle. Also on the right side where it shows our overview of our chassis, we can see this box is showing that we're working on the rearmost axle. Notice these sensors are blue color and these sensors are gray. Middle sensors are always blue. So now it also lets us know what shim it is we would need. This truck essentially has an eccentric on the back, so we're not going to be using any shims whatsoever. If we were using shims, we'd use about a 9/32 shim in order to be able to effectively move it into the green. If you don't know how to make an adjustment, on the very top here, it looks like a little camcorder with a question mark for help. Come into browse videos. We're going to come into hardware operation. And we actually have quite a few videos on trucks on what the adjustment would look like. Essentially in this case, it's very similar to a Volvo eccentric. It's a Mack truck, but still very similar, showing you the operation of how it is you need to make your adjustment. So then we would go ahead and we'd adjust our back axle. This screen is a diagnostic screen. Anytime you see a gray bar graph, it means the manufacturer doesn't have a spec for that. But we can still get the readings, so we want to show you the readings in case anything would be bent whatsoever. We're going to hit adjust scrub. As soon as I hit adjust scrub, you're going to see our box move up to our front drive axle. Now we're reading our front drive axle, and we know how to be able to adjust that. Always adjust your thrust axle or your rear drive axle first, then adjust your front drive axle. Same type of diagnostic screen to be able to see if anything's bent. And then we hit adjust camber caster. Now our gray box will jump to our front, to our steer axle. Also it shows the rear axle 1. So it's always rear axle 1, rear axle 2, rear axle 3, rear axle. It always starts from the front and counts back. So now our box on our steer axle. You can see our camber numbers, our toe numbers. Bar graph that I really like when adjusting the front steer axle. We're going to hit show next bar graphs for K3. I really like to be able to see my individual toes, my total toe, and my steer head all in one shot. To me, it makes it a lot easier. You can see everything that you would need to do. Also, anytime you're on a bar graph screen like this, to be able to make that bar graph bigger, click on it. Now it will take up the entire screen. So it may make it a little easier for you to be able to see it, especially if you're on a rear axle and it's all the way in the back. Click on it again and it minimizes. So now we go and we set our front toe. If you don't know how to set front toe, again, we have a video on that, showing you how to be able to release the collars, rotate your tie rod. So after we adjust toe to our spec, which in this case is 0.07, then we set steer head. And by setting steer head, all we're doing is equalizing toe left and right. That's literally it. So right now in this case, we rotate the steering wheel to the right 33/100ths of a degree. Our left and right toe would equalize. They'd both be saying half of whatever this number is, hopefully 0.07 if we adjusted it. Steer head would then say 0. What that allows you to do is you can take your steering wheel off your steering column, put it back on so it's centered. You can clock your steering wheel. That allows you to do your test drive in your bay before it's ever on the road. If we were going to do anything with caster, we'd verify caster. Again, we're not on turn plates, so we're going to bypass it. Very important though, when you're doing a caster sweep, read the screen and do as the screen says. So if the vehicle was raised, lower. It's not, it's on the ground, so we're good there. If locked, unlock the front sensors. So if for some reason you lock the sensors, you need to unlock them. What they're talking about is this knob right here. If it's cranked in all the way, this sensor would be locked. It's not moving, it's pretty solid. If we loosen it, now this is able to float. So if you need to be able to lock it, make sure you lock it. If it's need to be unlocked, unlock it. In this case, it would need to be unlocked. So we go ahead and leave it unlocked so that way it's able to float. Make sure it's still before you start doing your caster speed. In this case, we're only measuring caster only. So it says service brakes should not be applied. Very, very important not to apply service brakes. They need to steer the wheels directly. If you see an arrow, it means you're very, very close to getting in the middle. So move very slow when you see an arrow. If this is an X, you can generally move pretty quick. We're going to bypass it because, again, we're not on turn plates. The last thing we'd be able to do would be adjust this front toe, just like we were talking about earlier. Same steer head bar graph. Adjust your toe to your spec, 0.07. Steer ahead and make it at 0. Take off your steering wheel, clock it so it's straight ahead. You're good to go. Go net print. Here's your different options on what to be able to print, and it shows you your print preview ahead of time. Before I print, I always make sure I click on current measurements here, and I want to make sure that everything is good to go before I hit print, because that's what it'll save. So as long as it's good, I'll go ahead and hit print. Preview will pop up on this one, the way this setting is. Now we're good to go. Everything will print out down here, and we are set.